A Scandal in Bohemia by Sherlock Holmes Short Stories. Chapter 1. The King of Bohemia's Problem. In this chapter, Dr. John Watson, the narrator, visits his friend Sherlock Holmes at their shared residence, 221B Baker Street. Watson describes Holmes' eccentric habits and keen observational skills, establishing the character of the great detective. The narrative tone is one of intrigue and anticipation. The chapter's primary focus is on the arrival of a new client, the King of Bohemia. The king, who remains unnamed in the story, seeks Holmes' expertise in a matter of great sensitivity. He explains to Holmes that he is engaged to be married to a Scandinavian princess and that there is a potential scandal that could jeopardize the union. The king's problem revolves around a photograph featuring himself and a woman named Irene Adler. Adler, an opera singer, was once the king's lover, and he fears that the photograph, if revealed, would tarnish his reputation and damage his marriage prospects. The photograph is in Adler's possession, and the king is desperate to retrieve it before his marriage takes place. Holmes listens intently to the king's predicament and agrees to take on the case. The king's concern about the photograph and his desire to keep his past indiscretions hidden set the stage for the mystery that Holmes will attempt to solve. This chapter establishes the central conflict and introduces key characters, such as the King of Bohemia and Irene Adler. It sets the tone for the story's themes of secrecy, reputation, and the complex interactions between the characters. As readers, we are drawn into the intrigue of the case and eager to see how Holmes will approach this challenge using his legendary deductive skills. Chapter 2. The Adventures of Irene Adler. In this section, Sherlock Holmes begins his investigation into the woman at the center of the case, Irene Adler. Holmes employs his remarkable powers of observation to gather information about Adler's daily activities and habits. He pays close attention to details such as her comings and goings, the people she interacts with, and even the presence of cigarette ash on her windowsill. Through his astute observations, Holmes deduces that Adler is a woman of intelligence and caution. Her awareness of her surroundings and her ability to avoid being followed impress him. He concludes that she is likely involved in some kind of secretive and potentially compromising activities. Holmes also notes that Adler seems to have a close relationship with a man named Godfrey Norton. Norton's frequent visits to her residence intrigue Holmes, and he becomes curious about the nature of their association. He believes that there is more to their connection than meets the eye and that it might hold the key to unraveling the mystery. This section of the story showcases Holmes' exceptional deductive skills and his ability to glean significant insights from seemingly trivial observations. It emphasizes his meticulous attention to detail and his knack for piecing together information to form a coherent picture of a person's life. As Holmes delves deeper into Adler's world, the intrigue surrounding her and the case intensifies, setting the stage for the unfolding events of the story. Chapter 3. Holmes' Plan. In this chapter, Sherlock Holmes devises a plan to retrieve the photograph from Irene Adler's possession. He knows that his direct approach has failed in the past, so he opts for a more elaborate scheme. Holmes shares his plan with Dr. John Watson, his close friend and narrator of the story. Holmes plans to create a diversion that will draw attention away from Adler's residence, allowing him to enter her house without being noticed. He enlists Watson's help in carrying out this plan. Watson's role is to approach the residence at a specific time and feign illness, attracting the attention of Adler's maid. While the maid is distracted attending to Watson, Holmes will slip into the house and locate the photograph. Holmes believes that Adler's absence from the residence during this time will increase their chances of success. As Watson carries out his part of the plan, Holmes prepares to enter the house. However, as Holmes reaches Adler's residence, he realizes that his carefully crafted plan has been thwarted. He discovers a letter addressed to him, left by Irene Adler. In the letter, Adler reveals that she was aware of Holmes' intentions and managed to escape. She thanks Holmes for his efforts and assures him that she won't use the photograph to harm the King of Bohemia. This chapter showcases Holmes' strategic thinking and his ability to adapt to unexpected situations. Despite Adler's escape, Holmes remains intrigued and impressed by her resourcefulness. The chapter builds tension as the plan unfolds and ultimately leads to an unexpected turn of events that pique the reader's curiosity about Adler's character and her motivations. Chapter 4. Adler's Letter and Photograph. In this chapter, Following the failure of his plan to retrieve the photograph from Irene Adler's possession, Sherlock Holmes finds a letter addressed to him that Adler has left behind. The letter contains Adler's explanation of her actions and her feelings toward Holmes. In the letter, Adler expresses her admiration for Holmes' intelligence and resourcefulness. She acknowledges that she was aware of his plan and managed to outsmart him. She reveals that she has left England with her new husband, Godfrey Norton, and assures Holmes that the photograph will not be used against the King of Bohemia. Adler asks that the photograph be returned to her as a keepsake of their encounter. Holmes is intrigued and impressed by Adler's character and her ability to stay one step ahead of him. He acknowledges that she has defeated him and praises her wit and cleverness. While Holmes often refers to her as the woman, it is clear that he holds her in high regard. As Holmes reflects on the letter, he comes to admire the integrity and honesty displayed by Adler. He decides to keep the photograph as a reminder of a case that was unlike any other he had encountered. The photograph becomes a symbol of Adler's unique impact on Holmes' detective career. This chapter adds depth to Irene Adler's character and highlights the complex interactions between her and Holmes. It also emphasizes Holmes' appreciation for individuals who challenge his intellect and the profound impact that Adler has had on his perspective. The chapter contributes to the overall theme of admiration, wit, and the unexpected twists in the story. Chapter 5. Conclusion. Within A Scandal in Bohemia, in the concluding chapter of A Scandal in Bohemia, Sherlock Holmes reflects on the case involving Irene Adler and the King of Bohemia. He acknowledges that the case was unique and unlike any other he had encountered. He refers to Adler as the woman, and marvels at her intelligence, wit, and ability to best him in their encounter. Holmes recognizes that Adler's actions were driven by genuine feelings and integrity. He praises her for her courage and resourcefulness, considering her as someone who holds a special place in his memory. Despite her departure from England, Adler's impact on Holmes' life lingers, and he treasures the memory of their interaction. The King of Bohemia arrives at 221B Baker Street to retrieve the photograph, only to learn that Adler has left the country with her husband. Holmes reveals that he has kept the photograph as a memento of the case. The king, despite being unsuccessful in recovering the photograph, acknowledges Adler's exceptional qualities and expresses his gratitude to Holmes. The story ends with Holmes reflecting on the lessons he has learned from this case and how Adler's character has enriched his life. He describes her as the woman who outwitted him and left an indelible mark on his memory. The story concludes with Holmes' admiration for Adler and the unique nature of the case. This final chapter encapsulates the central themes of admiration, intellect, and the unexpected connections between characters. It highlights the impact of Irene Adler on Sherlock Holmes' perspective and showcases his appreciation for individuals who challenge his intellect and assumptions. The conclusion provides a satisfying resolution to the story while leaving a lasting impression of the memorable encounter between Holmes and Adler. Thank you for following the story. If you want to know more, visit the link in the description and learn about the English course for Brazilians that have been helping many beginners in the language. See you then.